Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the UN and Australia Sustainable Partnerships Forum hosted by the United Nations Association of Australia. My name is Monica Lillis, and I'm UNAA's Victorian Vice President. I'll be your MC today. We would like to start this event by welcoming Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung Elder Tony Garvey to perform a welcome to country.
Thank you very much for that very warm welcome. I'd just like to start off with saying Wominjeka to everyone. So Wominjeka in Wurundjeri language means welcome. So welcome to everyone here today. Also just like to say that I'm very proud and honoured to be sitting here today speaking on behalf of our people, the Wurundjeri people. The Wurundjeri people are a part of the Kulin Nation. Kulin means man. In the Kulin Nation, there were 5 language groups. There was the Wafurong to the west, the Coorong, who were the westerly neighbours to the Wafurong, Talarong to the northeast, Bunurong to the southwest, and the Wurrung of the Wurundjeri territory that we stand on here today. The Wurundjeri lies within the city of Melbourne. It extends from the mountains of the Great Dividing Range, south to the Yarra River, west to the Werribee River, and east to Mount Baw Baw. The Wurundjeri people, they have a social totem. It is Bunjil the eagle. Bunjil represents spiritual powers throughout many parts of Australia. Bunjil taught all the laws about life and ceremonies to make sure that our culture would continue for all walks of life throughout Australia. Bunjil is referred to as the creator of mankind. Bunjil created great people from the land, and that is why we call the land our mother, or the mother of creation. Never can the land be taken away. The land will always belong to Aboriginal people, as we are part of the land and the land is part of us. Our story is similar to yours. Yours is by your chosen faith, ours is by the dream time. We both have creators and beliefs, and ours is Bunjil. It is a traditional custom of the Australian Aboriginal communities to be asked and to give permission for people to enter their land. And today you have now joined with me to honour the spirits of my ancestors, past and present, who have nurtured this land for over 60,000 years. And we as the custodians of the land offer you a heartily welcome to the land and hope that together as citizens of this beautiful country, we can develop and unite stronger nations for all people. And finally, I'd just like to close in my Wurrung language. Wominjeka, Wandun, Wurundjeri, Balak, Yemen, Kumbibek, which means you're the most welcome to the land of the Wurundjeri people. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. Have a great meeting.
Thank you, Elder Tony Garvey, for that wonderful beginning to our 2-day forum. This forum has been a long time in the making. Originally scheduled to happen in person in April last year, this event has, like the rest of the world, been affected by the global pandemic. And although it is unfortunate that we aren't able to come together in person to discuss, connect, and learn for this year's forum, presenting the event digitally has given us access to a new and much wider group of speakers from around the world and audience members. Welcome to you all. The incredible global impact of the coronavirus pandemic has made people in Australia and around the world aware of the urgent need for action to ensure people's basic needs are met, and the planet is made secure from the effects of climate change, and that our future world is healthier, safer, fairer, and more prosperous. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, provide the global blueprint to end poverty, protect our planet, and ensure prosperity. Working together to implement them by 2030 will mean we address the underlying factors which exacerbated the worldwide crisis: poverty, food insecurity, fragmented health systems, educational inequality, and climate change. During the forum, you will have the chance to listen and interact with some of the leading voices in these areas. We have an amazing array of speakers and session hosts, some 80 in total, and these are coming to you from across Australia, Asia, the Pacific, Geneva, and the UK. We thank you all for your positive responses to our invitations. I can't go any further without paying special mention about the partners who have made this forum happen. all of whom remained supportive of us when we had to make the tough decision to postpone and are still supporting us today. Thank you to our forum partners, Monash University, PwC Australia, and the University of Melbourne. Thank you to our session partners, Zoos Victoria, RMIT University, Melbourne Water, PwC's Indigenous Consulting, SDGX, the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning, the Australian Human Rights Commission, and the Global Health Alliance. Thank you to our future leaders partners, Yarra Valley Water and Comecon. Thank you to our connecting partner, Wendy Brooks and Partners. And thank you to our supporting partners, the Committee of Melbourne, ICLEI Oceania, the Infrastructure Sustainability Council of Australia, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific, the International Association of Business Communications, the Australian Print Workshop, the Shared Value Project, the Community and Public Sector Union. You can see our list of wonderful partners on the Forum Partner tab located to the left of the virtual lobby. Over the next 2 days, we will deliver a mix of plenary and breakout sessions. Please ensure that you familiarise yourself with the program, which can be found in the tabs to your left-hand side in the virtual lobby, and plan your next 2 days with us. We understand that you might have commitments, which mean you need to watch a session after it is conducted. All sessions will be recorded and be available after the live broadcast, so you'll be able to rewatch at a later stage. Just a bit more housekeeping before I begin our opening session. To ensure you have the best experience today, we suggest reading through the help desk located in the tabs on the left-hand side of your screen and the virtual lobby. If you need to contact our wonderful JT Production Management Events team or tech support, navigate to your inbox at the top of your screen and search Event Support for an instant chat. Lastly, if you ever do get lost, head back to the virtual lobby to see which sections are live and coming up. And don't forget that you can get to know your fellow attendees through the functions provided on the in-event platform that we are all now interacting on. Click on the Networking Lounge at the top of your screen. Here you're able to click on anyone and request to chat or set up a video call. I would now like to introduce the United Nations Association of Australia President, Mario Delia, to welcome you to the forum. Thank you, Mario.
Good morning all. My name is Mario Delia and I'm the National President of the United Nations Association of Australia. Thank you for welcoming us to country. I acknowledge with deep respect the traditional custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today. I wish to pay my respect to the elders and members of the world's oldest living culture and recognise their continuing generosity and leadership in seeking reconciliation with us. Friends, welcome to the UN and Australia Sustainable Partnership Forum. I must say I am excited by the calibre of speakers, showcases, partners and guests who are joining us in the next 2 days. And I'm personally looking forward to learning, engaging and drawing inspiration from each of you. It is disappointing that we are not face-to-face as we plan to be, but I hope you'll take advantage of all the elements of our program and in particular the online networking to build our knowledge and relationships to share our work. Our challenges in 2021 are many and complex. They can be overwhelming, particularly when we face them alone. But by working together, we join a groundswell of community, business and government leading change through cooperation. Our local community becomes national and international, which after all is what the UN is all about. The UN Sustainability Development Goals are a tremendous example of international cooperation. They set out a blueprint for our future. We are 5 years into this program with 10 years to go. We have much to do and learn in those 10 years. And it will take all of us and more in our communities, workplaces and governing bodies. We'll go further when we go together. Some of you may be joining the UNAA event for the first time. Welcome. The UN Association of Australia is as old as the UN itself. We are celebrating our 75th birthday. The UNAA is one of 100 national UN associations which work to engage educate and inspire local communities on the UN's work to create a safer, fairer and more sustainable world. We are a diverse and inclusive organisation through our commitment to the UN's critical role in maintaining international peace and security and human rights. And in all we do, we focus on promoting SDGs and the issues affecting Australians and Australia, such as climate change, the rights of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, gender equality and refugees. Through our divisions across Australia, our Young Professionals Network and our sister organisation UN Youth, we run events which engage thousands of people on the work of the UN and Sustainable Development Goals. We also convene networks of academics, UN alumni and parliamentary friends. Whilst we run a largely volunteer operation, there are many ways that we can create connections to support partnerships initiatives that emerge from our discussions. My colleagues from the National Board will be working alongside you. We are very keen to hear from you about your initiatives, your challenges, and how we and our networks and partners might be mobilised to support you. We will reflect what we hear back to you in a communique at the conclusion of our deliberations, so that we will have a shared message about the work we do here that can be shared with our members, colleagues and friends. It will form the foundation of working together in the future. I would like to pay special thanks to our forum partners who have remained with us now for some 18 months. We have been buoyed by your support and we look forward to continuing to work in partnership with you beyond the forum. Thank you also to all the forum speakers and session hosts whose contributions will make this forum compelling and inspiring. We look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you to all the participants for making time to join us. We hope that the work we do together here will build the foundation for working together over the next decade to achieve our Sustainable Development Goals. I can now declare the UN and Australia Sustainable Partnerships Forum open. Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you, Mario. It is now my privilege to welcome our distinguished guest, Ms. Amina J. Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Deputy Secretary General Mohammed led the process that resulted in global agreement around the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the creation of the Sustainable Development Goals. She is now chair of the UN Sustainable Development Group, which is overseeing their development. Deputy Secretary General Mohammed has also been known throughout her career for her strong support of women and young people being included in decision-making and leadership. At UNAA, we are very fortunate to be linked to an incredibly impressive future women leader in Lucy Stronach, the 2021 Australian Youth Representative to the UN. Lucy is currently conducting the largest ever face-to-face consultation with young Australians about what they are most concerned about and the solutions they want to be implemented. Lucy will then deliver this information to MPs, NGOs, and other key stakeholders before addressing the UN General Assembly in New York. When we suggested a conversation between Deputy Secretary General Mohammed and Lucy, Ms. Mohammed jumped at the chance, and we'll move to that conversation now. Welcome Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed and Lucy Stronach.
Thank you so much, Monica and UNAA, for giving me this incredible opportunity to speak to you, Deputy Secretary General Mohammed. Welcome to the UN and Australia Sustainable Partnerships Forum, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Deputy Secretary General, you are at the centre of the negotiations to develop the SDGs. The world has obviously changed incredibly since 2015, particularly over the last 12 months. Are you confident the goals still provide a pathway to a more sustainable world?
Absolutely. Look, the SDGs with their universal scope, their interlinked nature, and a focus on leaving no one behind, which was the most important decision that we came to, has never been more essential than now. And they can serve as a roadmap to help guide the COVID-19 responses that not only provide immediate assistance, but take the opportunity of the response for a recovery that is not only better, but different. And the SDGs are encouraging lots of integrated investments and opportunities. The plans that we've put and I would say co-created with countries have been critical for public goods. And so we've seen, again, where we might not have had the same chance pre-COVID, a lot of emphasis on social protection, dealing with our poverty goals, a lot of emphasis on the provision of services, making sure that the health systems and the education systems that were impacted by COVID, somehow that whole shift to connectivity and virtual, in many cases, has been leapfrogging. It's been not accessible to everyone, but we've seen a lot of progress there. And we've seen people have had the opportunity to have the immediate impacts of the economic shock, particularly in the informal sectors where we've seen a lot of young people and, of course, women in particular.
It's really wonderful to hear that despite the pandemic, the SDGs are obviously still progressing. So this forum has been designed to bring people together to learn about the benefits and opportunities of partnerships to progress the SDGs. How important do you believe partnerships are to delivering the 2030 agenda?
Well, partnerships, for one, it's I will always say to deliver the SDGs 17 in number that they are, that the first 6 are the unfinished business of the MDGs. And our SDGs 7 to 15 is where the real investments need to be made to transform our economies and to become more inclusive. But here, 16 and 17, one is the governance and the institutions that this has to sit on for it to deliver scale. And 17 is our partnerships. And partnerships are critical. Today, this is beyond the capacities of any government to deliver on this agenda. It's huge. The challenges are very complex. And so those partnerships with civil society, with different groups in business, with academia, with science. I mean, there's a multiplicity of partnerships that are necessary now so that we get the depth and the breadth of the ambition of the SDGs. Science and technology, for instance, if we were looking at education, what are we going to be seeing as we reimagine education? It will be connecting people with technology, closing the digital divide, enabling skills. And so for that, it's not only government that can do it. It will be, partnerships in the private sector to have that done. So I think they're central to the ambition and, of course, to the breadth of what we have to cover in the SDGs happening by 2030.
On that note, do you think that the goals provide opportunities for new forms of partnerships too? For example, maybe with some less traditional types of partners, such as startups and social enterprises?
I think they do, and they're all linked to many of the issues that we're facing today. For instance, we are embarking on the Food Systems Summit. It's an ecosystem of millions of people, that whole value chain from when you produce food till you get it into a family, a community. It passes through very many stages, and those require partnerships, some that are intricate, some that are, quite frankly, for us, if we can convene the different stakeholders around startups, for instance, can connect people to market very, very quickly. And so I think, yes, there is a huge opportunity for young people to be part of this. And essentially, many of the conversations that we've had recently around social entrepreneurship, and it's about the quality of life, the quality of what you need and not what you want. It really links to the circular economy. It begins to say, what does a social entrepreneur really want to contribute to this? But what are the expectations of a community? And I think that there's so much more interlinked today when you speak to young social entrepreneurs, the issues and the challenges in communities, societies, countries, cross-border, because again, technology is one way that we are being far more inclusive than we have been before.
And now actually moving on to young people, in planning tomorrow's forum session around partnering with young people, we embraced a comment that you made in Nations United, that the UN is bringing young people to the table now, but not just as a token. What advice would you give to organisations to ensure that they're allowing young people to shape decisions?
I mean, if you are employed by an organization, I think it's not just the quota that you give as we look for women to young people. I think it's beyond that. being at the table is part of the experience and the life journey that all of you will have to grow. But every now and again, I think we need to open up space for leadership in organizations to young people, even if it is just to experience it. There's a lot of mentoring that goes on in organizations, but sometimes it's not to the point where, for instance, I would be chairing a meeting today on the important issue of financing for development and tackling debt relief. And I've got a number of experts around the table and heads of agencies. And to have to yield the chair to the youngest person around that table. I'm not yielding my job. I'm yielding the chair for that discussion to give a young person the experience of sitting at the head of the table and looking down left and right and thinking, oh, crumbs, but these people are, these are my bosses, these are my colleagues. That's the person that leads this particular area. And I think we need to do more of that, be a little bit more creative, more welcoming of young people into discussions, so that you are not a token, that you are actually being heard, and challenge. I think sometimes young people suddenly become very polite in the midst of a lot of older people who've been there for a long time. And that's okay. We're not asking you to say something that will get you fired. But what we are saying is that have the courage with what you know, your lived experience, the skill set that you come with, to offer something on the table. Challenge that, uneasy environment that's not quite sure what you're going to say if they give you the floor. Challenge it. If they don't give you the floor, you need to find a way to demand it, because you're at the table, not just as I would say, as a token or a face at the table or to fill the numbers for young people, but actually to input and to shape the outcome of that meeting, that decision, that investment.
Absolutely. And, we thank you for the role that you're playing in advocating for young people. You said recently that women's full political and economic participation and leadership are fundamental as we move forward from the pandemic. What advice would you give our audience today about how to ensure that gender equality can be achieved?
Whoa. Okay. Well, we've been doing this since before Beijing, and we just took, stock of Beijing as to where we were on gender equality, and we've launched an amazing campaign that young people are leading with generation equality. And the 6 clusters around which we need to mobilize women's movements, young and otherwise, to get behind issues that prevent it. And there are some, and let's start right from the family, the community and society. And then there are the more structural ones, which we have seen and we're trying to dismantle along the way. There are the norms and the standards that we need to put and have backed by law. And I think that it's not for want of knowing what we need to do. It's finding the way to do it, and not to do it as a cookie cutter. Every country is at a different level of development. And I think we have to acknowledge that, from those that are least developed to those that are, and I would say this with inverted commas, developed, because COVID has shown us that not everyone is as developed as you think, with the kind of exclusions and inequalities that we've seen around women and young people. So be conscious of the context that you're in. And if we want to get gender equality, first things first, this is about humanity. Half of humanity is female and has value to add. And no one's going to fly a plane on one wing. We are bringing value to the game. And there should be no tokenism around that conversation. We have different skill sets, different mindsets, different ways of coming at things. And I think in partnership, men and women, girls and boys, young people can do this together. But it is very different in every country. And I think that take a measure of where you are with the SDGs. And as communities, as young people and their movements begin to move that in whichever sphere is where the root cause is. Try to move away from the Band-Aids. They're too easy. It's really easy just to take up, speaking about a quota and push for a quota, and you're there for 20 years still trying to get a quota. You need to go behind the quota and why it is that there is pushback. And you'll find all the way back, it goes into the home. And so really it starts at the root. And this is such an enormous opportunity for young people, because this intergenerational transition that we are embarking upon, and that's what's great about COVID, beyond COVID, is just that. You have the chance to change the narrative on gender equality, because you're going to be doing it together with young people like yourselves. And I believe many young men who believe in gender equality and who can see the value and the benefits of it. Not everywhere the same, levels, but I think this is an opportunity. It's a huge one. Just don't inherit that from us. So it is so inspiring. And I really, truly believe that if we don't get it right with young people now, I don't know what we're going to do in our retirement.
No,
I
promise we're working on it hard here. We are pushing for it in the youth space.
Well, we're here to help you. I think it's, I would say more than help you, accompany, convene for it, and really just try to see the results that we would, like to co-create together. We have an awful lot to share. There are some things you don't have to have a learning curve for, because in different forum, I can share those things with you. Leaders like myself, women who in different walks of life should have that safe space discussion that can't go in a book, that can't happen on a webinar, to help you leapfrog some of those challenges that we had. You don't have to repeat them.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very different world that you have, one that you will, because, past generations have messed up, quite frankly, you're going to have to reshape. Climate action is one opportunity for you to do that. But climate action is not just about stop using coal. It's about changing the way our systems work, our lives are. And when you talked about equality, I was thinking, maybe it'll be shorter day weeks, because we will have to give more hours for everyone to work.
Absolutely.
So many are working 7 days a week, and so many are not working. And I think somehow we need to work towards our needs and not our wants.
Yeah. Massive restructuring of a lot of systems.
Really massive. But do it, social entrepreneurs are really very good at changing the narrative. Lots of behavioral science has to be, I think, brought to the fore. I think we've not understood mindsets.
Yeah.
We are not the same. Men are wired up differently from women. If you read that book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, you'll get it.
Yeah.
We are not wired. If we were, then we'd all be the same, right? We're not. And so there are weaknesses that men have that women can shore up, and things that we don't have that they can shore up. And I really think that there is a way to work at that constructively, so that when people see you at the table, they see you for who you are and what you're contributing, and not whether you're a man or a woman or an otherwise gender. It's really the human being that is at the table contributing. And we're a long way away from that. But there are lots of little things that we can do to change that narrative, to change the atmosphere, not to stand for it, to be courageous enough to say, well, I'm not going to stay at this table if we continue to speak in this manner about this issue, because it's not funny, it's a very serious issue. Or, I'm at many tables where they say they'll come back to me in 2 weeks' time with a solution. And I said, you know what 2 weeks is like in the life of a person that's hungry? I mean, you really need to see the urgency as you respond. So lots to do, and I'm excited for young people, because I wish I was there again, but I've had my, now I'm just trying to, my 6 kids remind me every day. And I have the 3rd grandchild on the way, and I still feel as young as I did then. So
look, I mean, if I can leave on a note of hope, I think the young people I've spoken to so far have almost ticked all of those boxes you've just mentioned there. They're absolutely incredible from the most diverse spectrums, but they're all just so passionate about making that kind of change to these systems and seeing the complexities of these issues. It's not black and white to them. They understand the complexity of what we have to do, and they're really fronting up to the challenge. So I've been absolutely blown away with who I've consulted with so far. Deputy Secretary General Mohammed, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. On behalf of the UN Association of Australia and our audience, can I thank you again for your time and your perspectives. We hope that we can see you in Australia one day soon.
Thank you so much, Deputy Secretary General Mohammed and Lucy Stronach. Sincere apologies for the technical issues and the frozen video that our audience will have experienced during that conversation. The recording will be available to watch later today, so the full video will be online on the forum website, so you can have a look there. I would now like to welcome Senator the Honourable Marise Payne, Minister for Foreign Affairs. Senator Payne was appointed Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs on 28th of August 2018, a Senator for New South Wales since 1997. She has more than 2 decades parliamentary experience, including 12 years membership of the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade. She is a former Minister for Defence and Minister for Human Services. Welcome, Senator Payne.
Let me start by saying welcome to Australia, whether you're attending virtually or in person. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this meeting is taking place and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I also acknowledge the distinguished delegates participating in this important forum and particularly thank the United Nations Association of Australia for bringing us together today. This UN and Australia Sustainable Partnerships Forum and similar events provide us with an invaluable opportunity to reflect on how positive and constructive connections between governments, multilateral institutions, humanitarian agencies, civil organisations are pivotal in ensuring we continue to work towards a more just, fair and secure world. The COVID-19 pandemic has demanded leadership, partnership and collaboration from all of us. Australian NGOs and international agencies have been on the front line with the government to make a real, practical difference to the response in our region. For that, I am very grateful. Our challenge going forward is to direct that energy to advance our ongoing efforts to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, including on gender, poverty, climate change and environmental protection, justice and human rights. Not long after my appointment as Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs, I told the United Nations General Assembly that Australia is, and I quote, committed to promoting and protecting the rules and institutions that support stability and prosperity and enable collective action to meet global challenges. And today, we face global challenges unlike any we have seen for generations. COVID-19 has demonstrated more than ever that our region's health security and economic recovery is intertwined with our own. Australia is proud of the work that we do through our development program, our long-term commitment to building stability, security and resilience in our region and around the world. The heart of that work is in our immediate Indo-Pacific region. We contribute $1.4 billion a year in the Pacific, and we also have a very strong focus in Southeast Asia. Throughout the COVID crisis, Australia has continued to work together with our partners to build and maintain the health security of our region. In the early days of the pandemic, we pivoted our development program sharply to respond to the challenges of COVID-19, including in building economic resilience in the Pacific, with many nations across our region struck hard by economic damage through the shutdowns of the pandemic. We are supporting our near friends and neighbours, like Papua New Guinea and Timor-Leste, with medical teams and essential equipment as our friends continue their crucial vaccine rollout and respond to COVID-19 challenges. In the last weeks, we've made significant investments into ensuring equitable access to safe and effective vaccines, not only for the Australian population, but for the population across our Pacific and Southeast Asian neighbours. This includes $523 million for the Regional Vaccine and Health Security Initiative, which will support vaccine procurement and delivery across the Pacific and Southeast Asia. $100 million towards a Quad vaccines partnership announced by Quad leaders at the historic Quad Summit in March, with Australia's contribution supporting vaccine delivery and rollout end-to-end in Southeast Asia, and an early $80 million commitment to the COVAX facility. Australia has done that because we understand we're part of a system. part of a system that needs to work together if we're to recover well and stay healthy beyond COVID-19. Now, as we roll out vaccines, partnerships with agencies like UNICEF and the WHO are pivotal. We know that UNICEF is at the front line of our efforts to vaccinate the region, given the agency's leadership on procurement and logistics for Gavi and COVAX. UNICEF has a remarkable track record with more than 75 years global experience, including 50 years on the ground in the Pacific, delivering vaccines. Their expertise will help us to support local governments in delivering doses safely, effectively and equitably, so that women and girls, people with disabilities, and other marginalised groups are vaccinated. That idea that we live in a globalised world where all of our biggest challenges are common challenges is clear again when you think of gender. We've long sought to support gender-inclusive approaches through our development program. But the fact is, no nation has a monopoly on the best approach to solving the challenges of gender. As Australia's Minister for Women, I would like to particularly encourage you, the participants in the next 2 days of discussions in this forum, to keep a strong focus on the challenges of gender when it comes to the empowerment of women, to leadership and freedom from violence. We have so much that we can learn from each other. Thank you, and good luck in the conference ahead.
Thank you, Senator Payne. I would now like to invite Sarah Meredith, Australian Country Director, Global Citizen, to the stage. Global Citizen is a global movement of engaged citizens who are using their collective voice to end extreme poverty by 2030. The actions of this global community, along with Global Citizens' high-level advocacy and partnerships, have resulted in commitments and policy announcements from world leaders valued at over $48 billion. By 2030, these commitments will have impacted more than 880 million people. We are really looking forward to Sarah giving an update of how Global Citizen works in partnership with companies, governments, individuals and organisations to progress the SDGs. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Monica. Very kind introduction. I'll just start my presentation, and I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the lands on which we all meet today. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and thank you very much for that very moving welcome to country at the start of today's session. I'd also like to thank the United Nations Association of Australia team, and particularly thank Sophie Arnold for this opportunity. And what an honour it is to follow such inspiring and incredible women in foreign affairs. I'd like to acknowledge the other speakers this morning, Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, a long-time partner of Global Citizen. She has been an inspiration of mine as well. Of course, Minister Payne, also an inspiration of mine, having my previous life working in politics. And of course, Professor Margaret Gardner and all the attendees attending today's session. I hope many of you have heard of Global Citizen, but if you have not, please go to our website, globalcitizen.org, if you want to know more information. But essentially, Global Citizen is an Australian success story. We were founded here in Melbourne by 3 young Aussies, former Young Australian of the Year, Hugh Evans, Simon Moss and Wei Su. And really, at the outset, they shared, I think, what many of you may have in your hearts, a real desire to see a better world and to see an end to extreme poverty. And the challenge is really quite simple, that it is a human problem. And we know through many experts and through the global goals that we have a solution to it. But what we don't have is the constituency and the political buy-in at all levels to make this a #1 priority. So Global Citizen is building that constituency. We are moving to be the world's largest movement towards ending extreme poverty. Our mission is to see an end to extreme poverty. That's the basic, but we've moved towards protecting the planet and reducing inequality. That's at the heart of everything we do at Global Citizen. It's in our mission and our work. Our model is really unique. No one in the charitable sector has the same kind of model. And we really, the heart of what we do is really, we say we can't end extreme poverty through black tie dinners. We're going to have to shake up the system and step outside the box. And for us, we call it the pop and policy approach. And it's largely built around partnerships. That's why I'm really excited to hear that you'll be spending 2 days talking about partnerships, because everything we do around our mission is about the partnership model. We partner with artist ambassadors, we partner with corporates, we partner with governments, we partner with high net worth individuals, all towards this goal of ending extreme poverty. And as you will see and heard about earlier, is that has resulted in huge impacts, numbers that you can't fathom, 48.4 billion in commitments. These are on-ground programs towards ending extreme poverty, set to impact the lives of 880 million people, and all because of 25.3 million actions taken on our platform. And that's at the heart of our model. Really what we try to do is we're convening through our live events and broadcast moments, putting poverty on the agenda. We use media and marketing and storytelling as the main mechanism for tackling the big picture story of ending extreme poverty. And then what is at the very heart and what has created the success is our movement piece, which is individuals like yourself signing up to globalcitizen.org and taking really small actions. Some take hundreds of actions, and these all culminate in the behind the scenes work we do with governments, a lot of corporates and high net worth individuals to get these large scale policy wins and systemic changes. And that's really the cycle and theory of change behind our model. In 2020, it really changed our work. In 2019, we announced what was going to be the next Live Aid in September 2020. It was called Global Goal Live, The Possible Dream. We were going to do 8 live music festivals on the one day and really shake up the world and call upon world leaders during the UN General Assembly Leaders Meeting to put poverty back on the agenda, to kick off the decade of action and make this a priority, because we knew that the world was already off track. And then came COVID-19. And as I mentioned before COVID, the world was off track. We knew the data was starting to indicate in countries such as Nigeria that poverty, in fact, was rising in some of the most extreme circumstances. And we couldn't sit by as this was starting to change. We needed to have a moment in time where we said, enough is enough. We need to all come back together. And unfortunately, due to COVID, as we all know, and it's been reported on widely, that in fact, more people are now moved into poverty, and we are very off track for the 2030 agenda. At least 171 million people will be pushed back into extreme poverty. So in 2021, we all came together and said we're still committed to the 2020 campaign. We want to see change. We want to be the voices of the people that say it is time to put ending extreme poverty back on the agenda. So we launched a campaign called the Recovery Plan for the World, which is a 5-point recovery plan. And we announced that in February with 2 artist ambassadors, Aussie Hugh Jackman and Billie Eilish, really to put it on the media's agenda, because if we're to end extreme poverty, it can't be in the same corridors of power and the same discussion rooms. It can't be within an echo chamber. We need to speak to as many people as possible and go to new audiences. And that's really what we want to do at Global Citizen. At the heart, the 5-point recovery plan is 1, end the pandemic and rebuild to prevent the next one. We're calling on countries such as Australia to make greater commitments to the ACT Accelerator, to invest their fair share, and also the supply of vaccines. So once Australia does have its full supply and there are surplus vaccines, to give them to the developing world, including the Pacific, and make sure that everyone everywhere gets access to the vaccine and the support systems in addition to that we need. The second one is stop the hunger crisis. And what's really concerning is the hunger crisis worsened because of COVID-19. And there are programs on the ground already working that we can invest more in to kickstart. It's about building sustainable food systems, dealing with nutrition. Non-communicable diseases are the biggest threats to our neighbours in the Pacific. We need good nutrition and we need to deal with malnutrition. The third pillar is resume education. And many children couldn't access the internet to resume their education. We need to be investing in that. But we also need to be keeping on track with Goal 4, ensuring girls and boys get access to education in the developing world. Number 4 is a big one, and it's something that our global citizens are really passionate about, and that's protecting the planet. You know, this year, COP26 will be a huge moment. We are calling on Australia to make a commitment to net zero by 2050 and a bold, ambitious climate plan. But we're calling on all nations to step up and this to be a turning point for the planet. I'm very passionate about our oceans and protecting these incredible major locations and reef systems that we have. The Great Barrier Reef is something incredible and we should be doing everything we can to protect it. And the 5th pillar is gender equality, but promoting equity across all programs and all issues. You know, this year has been defining in bringing up critical issues around race and around gender. And, you know, in Australia, it's even more important that we're dealing with gender equality and our racial issues. So for me, this is one of the big issues of the 5 pillars. And how we're doing, and as I mentioned, our POP and policy approach is critical. So we're doing 3 big live events in 2021. The first is called Vax Live, and that'll be on May 9 in Australia on YouTube. You can watch it at 10 a.m. And essentially we're dealing with 2 issues there. We're dealing with vaccine confidence and we're dealing with the equitable access to the vaccine. And what we really want to be part of this year is ensuring that everyone feels that the vaccine is safe and that they should take it and they should support their friends and families. And if you've got questions, we want to be part of helping answer those. So we have a hub called Vax Because. You can go and ask your questions and share that with your friends and family at vaxbecause.org, and then watch the show on YouTube. The second is what we're most excited about here in Australia, which is the Global Citizen Live, which is going to be a worldwide broadcast. It is going to be the next Live Aid, and it'll be across 50 locations. And Sydney Opera House has agreed to partner, and we'll have more to say in the middle of this year, but we hope that Australians can take part in this global moment to put the recovery plan and commitments to the recovery plan on the agenda. And the third, of course, is the G20 summit. It's going to be huge this year. The Italians are the chair, and we've agreed to partner with them to do an event. That event will be the precursor to the COP26. So we really hope that we, through this convening power, are able to really see change and bold commitments to the recovery plan. Partnerships are everything, as I said to you before, and there are really 3 ways we'd love to partner with you. And one, of course, ultimately we want you to sign up to globalcitizen.org, take action and be part of the movement. But the other ways is, as a commitment maker, if you know a corporate, if you want to encourage our government, or know an individual that may be able to make a bold commitment, we'd love to hear from you and give them an opportunity in September to make a commitment. The second is an NGO partner. Do you have a program that needs investment, such as the polio program, where they need greater money from governments, and we're able to convene and use our platforms to help achieve that commitment? And then, of course, as a sponsor and a partner in that way, we, of course, always love people to come on and sponsor our events. So if I can leave you with anything, I'd like to say this is the time for us to take action. This is the moment that all of us need to stand up and say, we have an opportunity to see the global goals realised. We have an opportunity to protect the planet, and we need our governments, corporates and the world's wealthiest people to stand up. But we also need to stand up ourselves and raise our voice. So please join Global Citizen, sign up to our website, and we'd love to have you part of the movement towards ending extreme poverty.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that discussion and sharing so many insights into Global Citizen. That was really interesting. Lastly, I would like to invite Professor Margaret Gardner, AC, President and Vice Chancellor, Monash University, to the stage. Monash University is a proud partner of the 2021 UN and Australia Sustainable Partnerships Forum. In 2016, Monash made a landmark commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals and is the first Australian university to commit to an energy reduction target through an initiative to achieve net zero emissions by 2030. Last year, Monash reached 17th in the world on the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, which measure university action against the SDGs. The university is also home to the Monash Sustainable Development Institute, MSDI, one of the leading interdisciplinary research and education institutes for sustainable development. And we are fortunate to be hearing from a number of researchers from the MSDI throughout the forum. Professor Gardner has been President and Vice-Chancellor of Monash since 2014, leading the university as they endeavour to meet the global challenge of the age, and we are honoured to hear from her now. Welcome, Professor Margaret Gardner.
Hello, I'm delighted to be speaking with you today as part of the 2021 United Nations and Australia Sustainable Partnerships Forum, and I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the people of the Kulin Nations, on whose lands I am standing, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Monash University is very proud to be an event partner for this inaugural forum, which brings together people from across the region to educate and take action. Monash University is deeply committed to advancing the principles of sustainable development, including social inclusion, human rights, climate change action, and environmental sustainability through our education, research, innovation and leadership. Since our establishment more than 60 years ago, Monash has endeavoured through its research and education to meet the great challenges of the age. We recognise the enormous social, economic and environmental challenges that we all face and that reach across and beyond nations. Our research works to solve complex global challenges and empower communities to create real and lasting change. Today, approximately 3,000 Monash researchers are contributing to advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. In addition to world-leading research, we're also committed to educating today's students, tomorrow's decision makers, to think critically and ethically, to cope with those ethical dilemmas, and to apply systems thinking approaches to serious and complex societal problems. This commitment is not only enacted by efforts in education and research, but also by recognising that as a university, we must lead by example. We have a wealth of sustainable development expertise across our faculties, and our Monash Sustainable Development Institute, MSDI, provides a platform to share that expertise in partnership with industry and government. As one of the leading interdisciplinary research and education institutes for sustainable development in the world, the MSDI is driven to find real solutions to some of today's most significant challenges. In 2013, Monash was chosen to lead the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network in Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific, and actively took part in the UN negotiations and debates that led to the SDGs. Furthermore, Professor John Thwaites of Monash's MSDI has been appointed a co-chair of the Leadership Council of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network and chair of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Association, which now has more than 1,500 universities and knowledge institutions around the world. In 2016, Monash became one of the first universities in the world to declare a commitment to promote the SDGs through our education and research when we signed the university commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals. And pleasingly, our commitment to an action against the SDGs has also been recognised in the latest Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, for which we were ranked 17th globally. One of our early career researchers, Dr. Shirin Malakpour, was recently selected by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres as one of 15 global experts who'll prepare the 2023 Global Sustainable Development Report, which is the peak scientific input to the UN on global progress on the SDGs. We've also been delivering on our commitment through a wide range of initiatives. As host of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, Monash co-led the organisation of 2 Australian SDG summits in 2016 and 2018. These summits were Australia's first high-level cross-sector forums to discuss how Australia should respond to the SDGs, and they were the precursors to today's event. In 2017, Monash became one of the first universities globally to commit to achieving net zero emissions by 2030. And we're working closely with industry, government and other research organisations to develop and test world-leading emission reduction technologies and market mechanisms on our Clayton campus, which we're using as a living laboratory. In 2018, we were proud to win the United Nations Global Climate Action Award for our Net Zero initiative. Our Melbourne Experiment project, launched last year, brought together diverse experts for a multidisciplinary collaborative research project to study the impacts of COVID-19 on Melbourne and positively inform urban recovery and renewal. The MSDI recently launched a 2020 update to Transforming Australia, which is a report on Australia's progress in achieving the SDGs and how it might be affected by COVID-19. I'm sure you'll hear more about this important contribution throughout the conference, including from Professor Thwaites, who led the work. The MSDI is also working with a range of businesses, water utilities and state governments to help them integrate the SDGs into their planning processes. And the Sustainable Development Solutions Network has been developing guidance for universities on how to increase their engagement with the SDGs. Their 2017 guide, Getting Started with the SDGs in Universities, is being used worldwide and has now been translated into 5 languages. It also helped lead the preparation of the network's recently released global guide, Accelerating Education for the SDGs in Universities. Monash University also has a number of projects that are helping to deliver the SDGs in communities locally and internationally. The Revitalising Informal Settlements and Their Environments project is transforming 24 urban slums in Indonesia and Fiji to provide the most vulnerable with access to clean water and sanitation, and ultimately aspiring, through the application of its findings, to improve the lives of more than 1 billion people who live in such settlements globally. Research by BehaviourWorks Australia is providing evidence on which behaviour change approaches are most likely to work in addressing social, environmental and organisational problems. And Monash's World Mosquito Program is using Wolbachia bacteria to prevent transmission of mosquito-borne diseases such as dengue and Zika, with the aim of protecting 75 million people worldwide over the next 5 years. Today, the major challenges before us are global rather than local, and universities can play a significant role in addressing these challenges. We have the capabilities, we have the people, we have the reach and the aspiration to produce solutions that will make a positive impact on communities around the world. These challenges signal great shifts in our environments, both physical and social, and they should be addressed by a sector such as ours, charged with a special purpose. I appreciate the time you've taken to hear from me, and I trust that you will enjoy and find inspiration in the rest of the forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gardner. Before we finish this session, we would like to introduce you to one more person. Throughout the forum, you may see Fiona Miller pop up on your screen. Fiona is capturing all the conversations we're having today and tomorrow graphically in a process known as harvesting. Fiona is creative and innovative, And if there is a box, you won't find her in it. Maybe decorating it or even embellishing it, but never in it. With a passion for seeing people and communities explore and collaborate on all things local, getting people to the same table and share skills and knowledge is a priority. Conversations matter, and by connecting conversations, amazing things happen. Asset-based community development underpins all that she does and believes in, and it's all done with a smile. Graphic harvesting, facilitating, community consultation and contributing to designing community projects with communities and their partners are amongst her favourite things. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Fiona. I'm currently on Palawa land on the Druida down here in Tasmania. And you can see behind me, I've already started to do some graphic harvesting. And what I'll be doing across the couple of days is capturing those pieces of gold that come out of conversations and what we're learning together, and be able to tell a story through pictures, which is something that's really important for people. We don't always read and write, and sometimes the images that we capture can help people remember things, or trigger those beautiful memories of a conversation or something that you felt really deeply about inside you. So I'm really, really pleased to be here today, and I hope that I can capture all of the conversations as best I can. I can't be in every session, but I shall do my best. And if there's something you'd like to contribute to the Graphic Harvest Wall, can you just pop it in the chat or send it through, and I'll get it up there. I've already started with those beautiful conversations we've had this morning, and some absolute gold coming out of there for me already, which I'm sure there is for all of you. So please enjoy. You'll see these across the day. We'll be popping little photos up in the gallery, I believe. So if you want to have a closer look at the work, you're most welcome to go there and have a deeper dive and see what you can see coming out of it visually as well as with the conversations. So thank you. Enjoy it. I will. You'll probably see the back of me most of the day, but I've definitely got my ears listening. Thanks.
Great, thanks so much, Fiona, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the illustrations that you prepare, capturing the conversations over the next 2 days. Don't forget, if you are posting, so just a final few things from me before we close out this morning's session, don't forget, if you are posting about the forum, to use our official hashtags, hashtag SDG Forum 2021 and hashtag Sustainable Partnerships Forum. Thanks again for joining us today. We are running slightly ahead of time, so what I might suggest is a quick break for everyone. Step away from your screens before rejoining us at 10:30 a.m. So grab a cup of tea, and then our first session, Are You Fit for Partnering with Victoria Tom, will begin at 10:30 a.m. As you do know, the forum is designed to be interactive. Please come to the workshop ready to turn on your camera and microphone and interact with our attendees. Please otherwise head back to the virtual lobby, familiarise yourself with the platform, and we'll see you shortly at 10:30 a.m. Thank you.